This is the all-new Sony RX1R III. It is so tiny. It is a point-and-shoot camera with 60 megapixels, a 35mm f2 lens. It is built in, so you can't actually change or remove it. It is extremely tiny, not small enough to fit in your pocket, but very small to be able to carry on vacations around the city while you're exploring to take photos of friends, people, and the landscape. I personally love taking photos, and I'm always looking for the best camera that I can take photos of people with, the landscapes when I'm traveling, when I'm at home, and I want to see if this is the best camera for that. So today I'm going to share all the things that I love about it, the things I don't like about it, and we'll share some sample photos as well as comparing it with a Leica Q3, because that's currently my favorite camera. So let's get into it. Now, who is this for? This is $5,000, so it is not cheap. You need to have a deep pocket. And I know most people love taking photos with their smartphone or iPhone. It gets great photos, easy to use, but this is still not as expensive as a $7,000 Leica, but it is more expensive than a Sony a7R IV with a 35mm f2. So today we're gonna explore to see what makes this camera so special. Now, what is this camera all about? It is a small form factor, smaller than the a7R IV with a 35mm and smaller than the Leica Q3. So it's really easy to just grab and go and start shooting. It has a high megapixel count, so I can do 50mm, 70mm cropping with this lens, and it feels like it's still a great shot. It has the Sony fast and amazing autofocus, but in a Leica style body. So how does it compare with the undisputed point and shoot champion, the Leica Q3? I really want to find that out. So in terms of build quality, even just the size differences are massively different. When I've been taking this out to take photos, people are like, wow, that's so cute. It's so nice and small. When I tell them it's $5,000, they freak out. And they're like, how is this little thing $5,000? Whereas the Leica, it's heavier. It feels like a higher build quality. When I hold on to it, I'm like, this thing feels more expensive. Whereas this feels kind of like a toy. It still feels expensive, but it just doesn't feel as premium as the Leica does. The buttons, in terms of like, watch, changing the shutter speed, like the clicking feels very satisfying. On the Sony, it's not as satisfying, but it's still good enough. Leica has a weather sealing of IP52, whereas the Sony does not have any kind of IP rating. The screen on the Leica actually tilts out just a little bit right there, whereas and down as well, so you can get a unique variety of shots while still seeing the LCD screen, whereas the Sony does not tilt at all. It's just fixed, so if I try to take a shot from down below or really high above, I can't see the photo as well. Now, when it comes to lenses, obviously the lens on the Sony is much smaller. It is a ZEISS 35mm f2, whereas the Leica Q3 43 is a 43mm f2. They do have a Leica Q3 version, which is 28mm, and that's f1.7, so a little bit better, but this is their APO Summicron lens version. You just get a bit tighter shots. I personally prefer the 43 over the classic Q3, but those are the biggest lens differences. In terms of size, you know, it's just slightly different, especially with the lens hood on, it looks bigger, but they're both pretty close. Now, from a sensor comparison, this is 60 megapixels, which is insane. You don't really need that unless you're blowing up the photos massively or you're cropping in, and that's where you can get the 35, which is the classic lens. We also get 50 and 70mm equivalents with the zoom and crops. The Leica is 61 megapixels, so relatively very close, but the Sony does not have IBIS or in-body stabilization. So if you're doing longer shots or moving around, there is a higher likelihood at slower shutter speeds that you might not get the best photos, whereas the Leica does have IBIS, and it's maybe better for more fast action, running around, shooting at slower shutter speed scenarios, especially at night. Next is the colors. So I do love Sony autofocus, absolutely insane. That's my favorite thing, but the thing I love about Leica is the colors. There's something about the photos when I take the shots on the Leica, they look stunning, they look beautiful. They're just this unique look to it that I haven't been able to like step away from. Sony still looks great, it looks good. I do have the Sony a7R IV, and I love using that for some photos, but the Leica is just like in a ballpark of its own. Fujifilm is probably the closest one that I might like, but the Sony colors, good, but it's just not the same. Menu system. So we film on Sony, the FX3, we have A7CR, a variety of cameras like that. We have all the Sony ecosystem, so the menu systems are just like easier. I know where everything is, I know how everything works, and when you're switching between different cameras, it's super easy to control them. Whereas Leica, I had to kind of relearn that camera system. Some people used to complain that Sony wasn't great, but I think honestly they're pretty easy to use, and I love that it's seamless and it's like the same across all systems. The Leica is different, it's unique. Trying to go across all the menus, like there's 7 menus, there's no easy way. You have to go like one by one by one. So I feel like the Leica just feels less intuitive. It's less easy to use when it comes to changing some more advanced settings. And that's where I would give the Sony camera a win. Now, you're most likely not going to use this for video. I never use my Leica for video, but they both support 4K, 422, 10-bit. This one does 30 frames and 24 frames a second. It's there if you need it, but it's a photo camera. And personally, I just never use my photo cameras for video unless, I don't know, I forgot my video camera. I'll just rather use my iPhone. Now, when it comes to autofocus, we all know Sony's the best in the game. They have really good AI autofocus, which is in this camera. There's no camera that beats it. If you just don't want to worry about what it's focusing on and you just want to get the right shot, Sony's the best, and this camera just has the best. Leica's okay, but I use touch to focus more often or use the small box, and I found that to be like, okay, this works, but you're not going to get the same level of autofocus. But I feel like the Leica, I use it in a way where it's like I pause. I'm like, I'm going to take the shot. We're not rushing. We're getting a beautiful shot. It's an experience. Whereas like if I'm trying to just get the shot quickly, it feels like I'm doing something commercial, something quick. And I like that it forces me to slow down a little bit. Now, the last thing is the apps. And most people don't talk about this, but I noticed that the Leica app is made for Apple. So when it comes to connecting to your phone, downloading images, it's much faster, it's more seamless. You don't have to tap that join Wi-Fi button. There's something that they do with the made for Apple thing that just makes it seamless. There's no other camera that uses that feature, so I absolutely love the app on the Leica. Location tagging, they both do location tagging. So on the Sony Creators app, you get location tagging. The Leica app you do. I think the Leica app is just better and faster at connecting, and I like having my location, the metadata captured in all the images, so I'm happy that both of them support it. Whereas like Fujifilm, it's not as good, and some cameras just don't even have location tagging, like the Sigma BF, so that's a bit disappointing. But both these cameras, location tagging, they make transferring to your iPhone easy, so you can edit on Lightroom on mobile, and I think the apps are really important. The Leica app is a bit easier to use, so Leica wins that category. And one of the biggest factors is price. The Sony one does cost almost $5,000, which just feels like a used car. The Leica is still 6.8, maybe almost $7,000. You add tax on these guys and prices through the roof. So it's not cheap. When you're buying something like this, one, you either have a lot of money to spend and you're like, okay, I just want to spend it on something random, or you actually want to make a true investment in a very high quality camera that you're going to enjoy, that's going to excite you to take photos. And for me, I honestly feel more excited grabbing the Leica. Although the Sony's smaller, it's easier to use, there's something about the images I get out of the Leica that get me more excited, more passionate about going out and taking photos. So I've decided I'm gonna return the Sony and I'm gonna keep the Leica Q343 because that just still feels like the best camera for me. It gets me the most excited to take the photos that I wanna take. So with all this testing, who is this really for? It's honestly for someone who wants a Leica competitor, but maybe wants to save $2,000, or you love the Sony ecosystem and you're willing to save a little bit of money, but you want that Leica style experience. And both these cameras are meant for people who have the money. This is not something that's cheap, it's something that you want to invest in. And I think if you want something smaller, you want something in the Sony ecosystem, you want that Sony experience, maybe you want to use the Sony Creators app, then this is a great point and shoot that just might fit in a smaller bag. It's lighter, it's easier to use, and will get you high quality images. Or if you're like, I want the Leica, I want the brand, I want the look, the feel of a Leica, I want the status that comes with owning a Leica and the color science, the image quality that's slightly different on a Leica, then that's where I would go with the Leica. Personally, I love the Leica way too much. I can't let it go. I love the form factor of the Sony. I wish the Leica was just as small, but I think what's gonna go in my bag for all my future travel, my family vacations, and taking photos around the city, it's gonna be the Leica Q343. There's just something about that camera that I love way too much. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, turn on notifications. I do have links for both the cameras down below. If you click that link in the description, it'll help support the channel. My name is Trevor Shares. Follow me on all the socials. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.